Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to day 2 of Decktober. Today we're looking at one of the new commander options from Innistrad Midnight Hunt, Liesa Forgotten Archangel. Liesa is a 4/5 flying lifelink angel that says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step, and if a creature your opponent controls would die, exile it instead. So this deck is all about forcing our opponents to sacrifice their creatures to force them into exile, sacking our own creatures to bring them back and trigger those ETBs and various effects over and over, causing all sorts of chaos and just being a general villain. Now, let's get straight into the $35 budget deck tech. As always with these budget brews, we're starting off with the ramp. First here we have Solemn Simulacrum to give us that basic land when it ETBs and a nice card draw when it dies, and Dark Ritual to get all those extra swampies. There is also Arcane Signet to tap for either Orzhov colours and Mind Stone to tap for colourless or to sack and draw a card. We've got some value-loving creatures in Shambling Ghast that when dies can create us a treasure, and Skullport Merchant that when ETBs creates a treasure token. We're also going to Diamond City here, throwing in both Charcoal and Marble for some more mana rocks, and a few even more Orzhov commander staples in Orzhov Cluestone and Orzhov Locket that you can also use to sacrifice and draw 1 or 2 cards. And to finish off the rampy section, we have Orzhov Signet to add Orzhov, and finally, of course, we have Sol Ring. Because Sol Ring. Before we get into all of our sacrificial slaughter, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. It's free to do, it helps the channel grow and grow as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. Now, before we get onto all of our devilish creatures, we're looking at all the ways we're going to have to be able to sacrifice them. The more ways we can find to sacrifice our creatures, with Liesa, the more chance we're having to gain from their deaths, or just get chances to replay those ETB triggers. First off, we have Bone Shards to sack one of our creatures and destroy target creature or planeswalker, and Final Payment to sack one of our creatures and destroy an enemy's creature. There is Village Rites to sack a creature to draw us 2 cards, and Bankrupting Blood to sacrifice 2 creatures but draw 3 tasty cards. For some more card draw, we have Altar's Reap to sack a creature and draw 2 cards, and Plumb the Forbidden to sack a creature, draw a card and lose a life, with this super extra option to repeat this for every extra creature you sacrifice. It doesn't say non-token either, which could very much help us later down the line. For the last 2 sacking sergeants, we have Fanatical Devotion, an enchantment to sacrifice a creature anytime and regenerate a target creature, and Hidden Stockpile to not only sack those creatures and scry one, but also to start building a servo army for every turn one of your creatures leaves the battlefield. Now we've seen a load of sacrifice options, let's look at the creatures in this deck. First, we have some self-sacrificial creatures in Altaid of Life's Bounty, a 1/1 lifelink we can sack to give target creature or enchantment you control protection against the colour of your choice until end of turn. We also have Benevolent Bodyguard to again sack and give target creature protection from chosen colour until end of turn. Creatures like this are so essential to make us be able to protect Liesa and other cards we may need to keep on the board. Plus, with Liesa's ability, they'll come back to our hand instead of hitting the graveyard. We have Carrion Feeder to sack a creature and give it +1/+1, and Kami of False Hope to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt that turn. There is Selfless Saviour to sack and give another one of your creatures indestructible until end of turn, and Viscera Seer to sack a creature and scry 1. There is also Cruel Celebrant that says whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life, and Zulaport Cutthroat that says whenever it or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Life gain and drain for days. There is Corpse Knight that says whenever a creature ETBs under your control, each opponent loses a life, and good old Gary, they'll ETB and drains each opponent for X, where X is your devotion to black, and you gain life equal to total life lost that way. On some card draw creatures, we have Dusk Legion Zealot that when ETBs draws you a card and loses you a life, and Grim Haruspex that says whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. We have Packed in Harvester of Souls, a big 5/5 demon with Death Touch to again draw us a card whenever a non-token creature dies, this time being any creature rather than just our own. And we have Midnight Reaper that says when a non-token creature you control dies, you draw a card and lose a life. We also have Morbid Opportunist that says whenever one or more creatures die, you draw a card once a turn, and Smothering Abomination, a flying Eldrazi that forces you to sack a creature at the beginning of your upkeep, but whenever you sack a creature you get to draw a card for your troubles. We have plenty of those devilish opposition sacking cards with Plaguecrafter to make each player sack a creature, with those who can't discarding a card, and Demon's Disciple, the ETBs, and makes each player sack a creature or planeswalker. Having a handful of these cards in here are key as we want to clear our opponent's board, sending those creatures into exile at the same time and giving ourselves a clear path to victory. There is Fleshbag Marauder to ETB and make everyone sack a creature, and Merciless Executioner to again do exactly the same. How evil. We've added in Slum Reaper to ETB and make everyone sack a creature, and Shriekmaw, the ETBs, and destroys target non-artifact, non-black creature. We have some removal options in Massacre Girl, the ETBs, and gives every creature -1/-1, and the Big Bad Massacre Worm, the ETBs, and gives all opposition creatures -2/-2, and drains your opponent for 2 life for every creature lost this way. Onto the final 4 creatures, we have Doomed Traveller, that when dies creates a 1/1 flying white spirit creature token, and Garrison Cat, that when dies creates a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. There is Requiem Angel, that also when dies creates a 1/1 white flying spirit creature token, and Zathrid Necromancer, that creates you a tapped 2/2 zombie creature token whenever it or another human you control dies. Before finishing with the lands, we're looking at all the removal, recursion, and the best of the rest in this deck. Starting off with High Priest of Penance, that says when it's dealt damage, destroy target non-land permanent, and Despark to exile target permanent with mana value 4 or greater. We have Commander staples in Mortify to destroy target creature or enchantment, and Nev's Disc to have that finger on the trigger board wipe option. For more board wipes, we have Cleansing Nova to destroy all creatures, and Deadly Tempest to destroy all creatures, with each player losing life equal to the number of creatures they had control destroyed this way. There is also Kaya's Wrath to destroy all creatures and gain life equal to the number of creatures you destroyed this way, and Phyrexian Rebirth to clear the battlefield of all creatures and create you an XX horror creature token where X is the number of creatures destroyed this way. The more board wipes in this deck the better, as you're not only getting to get all of your creatures back to your hand, but with Liesa, all of your opponent's creatures are heading into exile and they'll be slowly running out of options. We have Read the Bones to scry 2, draw 2 and lose 2 life, and Sign in Blood to draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. We have Black Staple Greed to pay a swamp and 2 life to draw a card, and Karmic Guide to the ETBs and gets us some creature recursion from our graveyard. Finally, we have Blight Mound to create us some life-giving pest tokens whenever one of our non-token creatures die, and Bastion of Remembrance that says whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Finally, we have all of the Liesa lands, with this deck having 15 plains and 15 swamp. It is a budget deck after all. We have our always trusty Command Tower and High Tower that gives us yet again another sacking option. We have Commander land staples in Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse to sack and search for some basics, and we have some Orzhov lands in Forbidden Sanctuary and Orzhov Basilica. For the final 2 lands, we have Scour Barrens to gain us a life and Temple of Silence to give us that scrying option. Liesa is a great new sleeper option for a potential commander, and one that will cause so much agony your opponents will hate it in no time. Make sure to check into Decktober Day 3 tomorrow, where we'll be looking at a budget deck tech for one of the most popular commanders in all of Magic the Gathering. There we have it, that is the $35 budget deck tech. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links, but for now I'm all tapped out, so I'll see you in the next video.